take it back 15 years ago since his debut album, That's Igbo Boy. The Nigerian rap legend is back with his 8th album. I feel like he did make reference to it in one of his singles that, yes, I'm back now. I'm here. They've been asking, okay, I'm here now. Now, it's called Sakai, such a beautiful name. It's a tribute to hip-hop culture and a feast for the mind. You need to take in this body of work, which is a gift for both the young and the old. Has 16 different tracks. A lot of hard work in the production, major wise words, reflective musings, just to mention a few. And it just tells us one thing and one thing only, that Illbliss has a lot to say. Now, Sakai, the name of the album, captures the heart of a hip-hop lover. Or you could be a father, or a middle-aged rapper, or even a black man, whoever you are. In general, you don't have to necessarily make music for a living to relate with this body of work. And that is the charm of the body of work, Sakai. Well, joining me right now on Arise 360, Oga Boss himself, Illbliss.
What's up? What's good?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, wow. That's just, I'm going to just start by saying, wow, you did it. You gave us a whole album. Mm-hmm. How long have you been working on this?
I've been working on Sakai since 2022. I started recording officially in October 2022.
So your 2 daughters, when I saw them on that body of work, and I'll tell you something, right? Because there's a lot to talk about today. It's there's a lot to unpack. So just relax.
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 I'm ready.
When I saw your 2 daughters on that album, I said to myself, and I'm going to say this unabashedly because I'm from Anambra State. So I say this from the bottom of my heart because I know that there's a lot of Igbo women out there who can relate.
True.
I am so happy to see how much you love your daughters. I feel like we're breaking that cycle. For real. Do you know
so?
I think we are getting there to see how you exalt them, how you make them like your pride, your rock. It's refreshing to see.
Yes,
coming from where we were, when once upon a time, having girls is like, girls? What are we talking about?
It's incomplete. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally feel you. My mom is from Anambra State.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad is from Imo State. So
okay.
From Imo State. So I call myself like a mixed race Igbo guy. And then of course I grew up in Enugu. So I have elements of different parts of the Southeast. So I totally get what you mean. Yeah. About the girl child. I am a girl dad. I have two beautiful daughters. Sochi Kaima is 6. Kachim Side is 3.
Side.
Yeah, Kachim Side. Yes. So Side Kai was coined from their names, essentially. My kids came into this world, this life, miraculously, very miraculously. Kaima came in after 8 years of marriage. So it took wifey and I a long minute, before we started having kids. And then Side also came during COVID. 2020, yes, she came as a premature baby.
Yeah.
So they all just came in sort of like, okay, it's time. Let's just crash into their lives, and take over, and when it takes you that long, for the kids to come. Wifey and I were together for that period, but we never panicked. We just felt it was going to happen.
Yeah.
We just knew it was going to happen. We have really, really supportive parents. My mom, and then my father and my mother-in-law, they are our parents. We don't even use the word in-law. So they always kept praying for us and keeping us in focus. So they helped us go through those difficult times. So when it was time to make this album, I took a picture of them, of the kids, on the dining table in the morning. They were wearing my glasses, my sunglasses and my headphones. And they were like, Papa, how do we look? How do we look? So I took a picture and I said, I didn't know what to do with it. I just took the picture and just left it. Couple of weeks later, I was going through my phone and I saw that same picture and I'm like, this is going to be my next album cover. I hadn't even started recording by then, So essentially, this album is not just about me. This is my 8th album. I've been on my covers for all through the albums. I just felt it was time to go in a different space, and show and for you to put your kids on the cover, that means that's very symbolic.
It is.
So I put them on the cover just to share with the world the biggest testimony that I have ever had as a man, which are these 2 kids essentially. So That's how they ended up on the cover.
I love it. I mean, I can't wait for them to like become teenagers one day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you remember those two kids? Yeah, that's us. I think it's so momentous that you put them as the body of work. But then when it now comes to the actual songs on the album, there's so many different themes. I mean, you can imagine the one that I like.
What do you like?
Oh, listen, I would always say this, right? And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I love being gassed up. I like being, I like when I listen to music and they are just hailing me. And with Tenny on Oh My God, that's exactly how I felt.
Oh, you heard that record.
I did. Oh My God with Tenny felt like, you just feel really beautiful.
You're an Igbo girl now.
Of course.
You love, we should adore and fan.
It's a terrible thing. Oh, gosh. We need to stop. But yeah, I didn't even want to say we Igbo women, we like to be gassed up. But the reality is we do. Yeah. So even apart from that, there are other things that you go into. You go into your break from music.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And let's talk about that. What was the reason? Because I could guess, but I want you to talk about, would you even call it a break, or would you just say life happened?
I think life happened. 2020 was that was the year that we had Kachim Side, was my second daughter. And that was the year that I put out my 7th album, which was called Ili Chapo. So that's what it was called. And I was trying to put out the album on May 29th, and I can't forget this. So I was just sitting down on my table at home working, and wifey comes out, and says, "Babe, I think my water broke."
No way.
Yeah. So apparently, Side was ready to come out. 5 months plus. She came out really little. She came out. We had her 25 weeks, if I'm right.
Oh, wow.
I keep mixing these dates up. My wife keeps saying it's 25 or it's 26. I know it's either 25 or 20, but she was really pretty, young. Under 6, she was less than 6 months. So we brought her out, and the doctors were like, no. We hadn't even brought her out. Doctors said, you need to do a surgery, you need to evacuate the baby. She's not going to survive. This was COVID. The streets were empty, hospitals were empty.
Where was this happening?
It was in a hospital. It was
with all the COVID measures.
Oh, with all the measures, everything. So then we decided. Some really good friends of ours that were in the medical line, came over to the hospital and decided, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to go to another hospital, get a second opinion. So we went to another hospital, and from there, they took wifey in and she put her on bed rest. So while all this was happening, I had an album out. I couldn't promote the album. So you know what I was doing, Kachi? I would go to the rooftop of this hospital. It's somewhere in VI. And I'll just take a phone and rap. Yo, what's up, my people? What's going on? My name's Illbliss. Brand new album just dropped.
Are you kidding?
It's called Ili Chapo. Get it. Available on Audio Mac and on Spotify. And I'll come downstairs and just lie down on the floor, just next to wifey. That's the only way I promoted that album. You understand? Eventually, Side survived, went through the NICU, the Neo Care for babies, and eventually came out. And she's an incredible child. She's so strong,
I
so
can
weird.
tell.
Yeah, you can see the expression on her face. Yeah. So she's our baby. Like, both of them are really dear to us. So that took me away from music. That I now settled into being a dad, from being a dad with no kids yet, then 2 kids now. So I had to fully focus and start doing, other things, other creative endeavors that wasn't just music. Halfway through, I retired. When you wake up and you're like, I think I'm done.
Why? What inspired that thought?
I just felt like, okay, you've given it all. You've had a great run in the hip hop space.
Were you busy?
Yeah, I'm always going to be busy. But I was just looking at the music scene, and I just wasn't getting inspired to make more music. I don't know what it was. It was just a state of mind. It was just, the game is changing. I'm not sure this our genre of hip hop is even growing as much. I don't know. Maybe it's time to just throw in the towel and just call it a day. So I stopped writing. I started having blocks. I would write, but I wouldn't really believe in what I was writing, because I just felt there was a disconnect of some sort. And I just carried it on year after year, and I'm like, okay, so I just quit. I'll go sit down with a producer. He'll make beats. All right, I'll come and be like, I'm not feeling the songs. I'm not feeling it. Up until I met this incredible kid called Skita. Skita grew up in Jos, and I met him through, we have a common friend, and so I just ran into him, and just to think that I didn't want to honor that meeting that I met Skita. So I met him, and he played some of his records for me, and I'm like, this is dope. And in 10 minutes, I was just reeling out choruses. So it just felt like, okay, this is what I've been missing. I just didn't find a connection with the right kind of producer, you know, and Skita's music just took me out of that space. And then we started working. So I wanted to do 2 songs, and then it became 4. It became 10. And we made 26 records from this album. I just chose the 16 that became this album eventually.
Wow, you know, you talking about the game changing takes me back to something that Adele said.
Yeah.
In an interview where somebody asked her that the game is changing, Adele.
Yeah.
Are you not gonna switch things up for TikTok and the like? And she says, listen, I cannot make that kind of, she said, period, point blank, she will never be able to create that type of music. So she's just gonna keep doing what she does until people get tired of it, I guess. And
absolutely,
that's it.
Absolutely. And you know, when you have a style, when you have a genre, a style that you've created over time and that you're known for, sometimes it's difficult while trying to attain change and transitions. It's also difficult to do everything that is trendy.
Yes.
So sometimes they're like, okay, Amapiano is the new sound. And you're sitting in the studio and the producers are trying to get you to fit into that sound, you know, and you're trying your best, but you make the records, they sound good, but they're not classics. Yeah.
But do you see, let me, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna give you an analysis, right?
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, Chocolate City put out a cypher.
Oh yeah.
20 years of, you know, hip hop.
It's incredible.
They put out a cypher, and when they put out that cypher, everyone kept on saying the same thing. It feels good. It feels nice to hear this.
Oh yeah.
It's refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air. Now, our biggest issue as an industry now is sustainability. How do we make sure? Because, I'm sorry, when you were making your first, second, third, was music as expensive then? Because I find that a lot of music it's a still. It's not expensive. I think it's a still. It should not even be that expensive. But music has become so expensive because you have to market yourself more than you should, because what you're putting out, the only way it can be sustainable is with money.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case during your time. It was that you put out an album or you put out a single and it goes on its own.
And it just flies. And to be very honest, when I sit down with some OGs from my era and you hear how much anxiety they have about putting out music in today's music ecosystem, it's scary. For me, I've always felt like you've always been a niche artist. You know, so you're a hip hop artist, you can rap in English, you can rap in Igbo. I've always also been blessed with big records, records that weren't even designed from scratch to be big. I'll give you an instance. See, I'm counting my money so I can't hear you, featuring Runtown. John Olaya with Ricardo and Mr. Easy. I have records like Bankalat, so I can perform. I'm blessed to be able to fit into that performing space as well. But today, I sit down with some of my colleagues and they're like, man, bro, are you seeing such and such billboards at Second Tollgate? How are we going to afford that? Are you seeing how much is going on Apple Music? How much is going on Spotify? So all of a sudden, it just feels like the technicalities of the business or the ways that you can access the fans now has become a lot more technical. There's so many artists in the ecosystem as well, so that people are spoiled for choice. Numbers are scaring people. Social media there's a lot of panic. So people look at social media, they're like, oh my God, my first single, I'm looking at the streaming numbers, is not happening. So I think people are disconnecting. And I always ask this question, did you ever try to build a community? Did you build a community?
And you know, that's what Oga Boss has. I think like also apart from the music, you've also created like this space. Like when we saw King of Boys, I remember the tweets, that nostalgia. People could not even believe that you were in it.
Absolutely. It was crazy.
They're like,
it was crazy.
Oh much. People could not believe that you were in it. And that just goes back to you creating a community.
Yeah.
Now, still speaking on that community that you've created, you're now taking it away from music, because I think that you're always going to be Illbliss.
Yes.
There'll always be that reference to, okay, you sound like, or you're trying to be like.
Absolutely.
You know, but how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel old? Like, why do people say you sound like me? Like, does it make you feel old?
No, honestly, so I'm a legacy artist, and I say this with a lot of humility. I just put out this album on the 24th, just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Babe, if you read the comments on Twitter, if it's just on that alone, I'm successful. Like, and I know, yes, we must bother about conversion. We must bother about how much money you make from streaming and so on and so forth. But you should see how the fans feel. You should see, and I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds of tweets. People are like, oh, I'm just going on my way to lectures, and I'm just listening to this Oga Boss record called Daughters. Oh my God, it makes me want to get married and settle down. I'm listening to Full Chest featuring Odumodu Black, and this is how I'm going to attack the weak. I'm going to, so different emotions for different people.
Yeah.
Male is a record I made for my mom, featuring Kobams Asokwo. It's dedicated to my mother, and people are connecting in clusters. They're like, my mom, I lost my mom when I was so young. It feels good to see Oga Boss celebrating the mom and talking about all the things the mom did for them when they were growing up. And I just look at the impact. I look at the impact of the music because, and then I say to myself, no, I think we as rappers need to do a lot more with storytelling, because that's what we are. So minus just chasing sales and chasing the pop records, which is also important, but you also need to connect with people on an emotional level so that they can look at you and see parts of their lives happening to you, you know, and it's incredible. The reactions have been awesome. So, and they all go back, I like this guy, but not this much. So they go back to who you were, where you were coming from.
Exactly.
They're like, why did you take so long before you came back? Like, we thought you were done with music, you know?
Well, actually, quite honestly, I'm sure a lot of people did. And whatever makes it worse now is, I like the fact that you called yourself a legacy artist, because it breaks my heart when I see artists like yourself come out on social media and are supposed to maybe, you know, just maintaining that status that fans have placed you on. It now becomes oh, he did this to me, and that's why I'm here now. He did that to me, and that's why I'm here now.
Yeah.
But what is it about that time of music? I want you to make me understand. That made it so easy for, you know, things to just go left, artists to be, you know, abused. And by abused, I mean mentally, intellectually abused, their work and all of that. What made that so easy to happen? Because there's been too many. We can't even begin to count. Too many people that gave us classics till today. Classics that if you play today, people are going to jam up. But for some reason, when they tell you the stories around that, you're like, yo, how is this even happening? Is that everybody's story? Are people just not telling us? Is this what it was back then? And is that why they did not continue?
It's a lot of, so like every evolving industry, you must have the teething pains. You know, there are things that come with the prices that we pay, you know, to build, you know, an ecosystem. In the arts, it's a lot of dysfunction, underlying dysfunction in the arts and the performing, be it music, be it Nollywood and acting. A lot of people actually don't look like what they've gone through. So a lot of people also go through a lot of stuff unspoken. So eventually they start to crack, or they tend to start cracking because, and then again, you see, with success comes a lot of yes men around you. So there's a lot of people around you fanning your ego. You know, you're the best, go get it. You'll never find those guys that cut you down to size and say, Kachi, that verse is whack. Change it. You know the first person that airs me out?
Who?
It's my wife. She'll tell you, babe, I don't like how you rapped on that song. I think you, because she understands what I do. She used to rap at some point when she was younger. So, and she's like, there's nothing cutting edge about this. There's nothing dope. Then you now do your Igbo man strong head. Yeah, it's good. This is what the audience wants. This is blah, 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 blah. And you go back and you listen to yourself and you're like, you know, she's right. This thing is a bit weak. So you tweak it here, tweak it there. You understand? So I still have that ecosystem around me protecting me. Few people, but they're there to make sure that I don't break, I don't get, you know, hurt in the process, you know. So I've been privileged. I wouldn't lie. I haven't gone through some of the things, some of the darkness, you know, that a lot of people have gone through. You know, a lot of people also never did anything else but music. I used to work. I've always worked all my life. I used to be a banker.
That's a very valid point.
Oh yeah, I used to be a banker. So from service brought me to Lagos after uni in UNN, and then I started to work in a bank. I moved to another bank. So I rose like up to like an SBO level in banking, you know. And banking teaches you a lot. It conditions you. So by the time you move from marketing to oil and gas to treasury to a little bit of, you know, fund transfer, operations, it gives you a system. So the way I approach music now, I still approach music like I'm in finance.
Yeah.
Profit, loss. Balance sheet. How much are you spending? How much are you putting in? You understand? So I keep looking at it like that. And the customers will keep their accounts because you're nice to them. Not essentially because the bank is doing anything phenomenal. But sometimes it's your account officer, relationship management.
Precisely.
You understand? So every time you get angry and you want to close the account, you're like, but Kachi still works there.
Yeah,
let's leave it.
and this person is nice to me.
Thank you. And answers my calls and sorts me out. So I think I took all of those traits and came into the chaotic music
industry, right? But now you're also into film. I saw Free Men, right?
Yeah.
And that's a story that, we cannot tell it enough. Let me put it that way. We cannot tell this story enough. It's such an important thing.
Yeah.
But what was it that drove you to tell the story? What was it that made you say, you know what, I want to do this. This is an important thing we need to tell about the entrepreneurial apprenticeship system.
Yeah. So after the Civil War, the Igbos went back into trade. They had to rebuild everything they had lost.
Yeah.
So commerce became crucial. It became survival, the only way to survive. So when I sat down with some like older traders, very successful men around Lagos Island, Idumota, and they gave us stories about how this place was built and how they own so many shops now, and how we started from just running through shops, Ibo-Safia, like, auntie, buy this slipper, even if it's not the one you wanted to buy.
Yeah.
So all those boys, that's how everybody started. From there, one person bought a plaza and rode in everybody to start paying rent in that plaza, and from there we started to grow. A lot of families sent their older sons into the West and into the North so that they could learn trade and deal in everything, spare parts, clothes, food, etc. There's a friend of mine, his name is Daro.
Okay.
So Daro was shooting a documentary about the apprenticeship system. And the guys that, I don't know if I can say their name, the guys that commissioned the project. So the guys at Showmax.
That's Showmax, yeah.
Yes, the guys, it's a Showmax original.
Yeah.
So the guys at Showmax now brought Daro and I together and said, you guys have similar projects. So, yeah, so while you're shooting this and Ili, you have been doing a lot of research. I've done a lot of work around the apprenticeship, program for a beer brand that I represent.
Oh yeah, Hero. Yeah, I remember we talked about that as well when that came out.
Yes, so when Daro and I got together, we found instant friendship and understanding, and we found out that we had a compelling story to tell. So we just swapped notes, and then Showmax is like, okay, let's create an original. But it's a docu-series.
Yeah.
So we sat down, I saw all the stuff, all the amazing work he had done. I brought him up to speed on everything I had been doing. And we are both executive producers for Freeman. And then we sat back and decided how we were going to chart the course, how we're going to get in Obi Kubana, how we would get in Koscharis, Mr. Maduka, Cosmos Maduka, Innocent Group, Chikasin Group. everybody. We brought everybody. These are the pillars of the apprenticeship system. It's a system that has made so many multimillionaires and billionaires. They say in the Navy, every square meter, there's a billionaire or a couple billionaires there. You know, so it saved us after the war. So trade and commerce, and how you can make it generational, how you can just get 5 boys, put them on, they will serve 5, 6 boys will serve under you, and after 7, they attain freedom. And when they attain freedom, you give them money, you give them goods, inventory, and then you give them connections, and in most times get them a shop, and then they start.
And then they start.
And then when they start, they take in their own, the next 4, 5, 6 number of people wherever they want to take, and train them as well, and keep it going. So it became cyclical, and
the rest is history.
The rest
but,
is
I mean, we
history.
have like literally 2 minutes, but I just want to ask you, education though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the only challenge that we've seen with the apprenticeship system.
Yeah.
When these boys are sent, okay, you know what, go and learn this trade. What about the education? At what point do they, you know, how do we balance that out?
The apprenticeship system needs to be codified further. I think it needs to be a part of a curriculum in universities. You understand? Because even when we went to the universities to interview like deans of faculties in business, they'll be like, I think they spend too much time here. I think they need to go to the market and get some hands-on experience. So perhaps 2 years in the markets and 2 years.
Like how they do like externship, like, you know, go and do your IT and all of that.
Absolutely, because it's the same sensibilities, inventory keeping, customer retention, the bookkeeping. That's the same thing, the same principles, you know.
Apply,
both in the streets, in the markets, and in the companies.
That makes sense. And that way, you know, you are staying in school, but then you're still getting the benefits. And then it goes beyond the East now. It now becomes a global thing where everybody is learning it.
Absolutely.
Illbliss, this was not enough time.
No.
Because there's still a lot to unpack, but thank you.
We need a podcast.
We do. Thank you so much for joining me on the show on my birthday, by the way.
Thank you so much. It's
so weird.
It's so beautiful. So beautiful. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And thank you for all the great work that you've done. You know, I'm such a huge Arise fan. You know, such a huge fan. Thank you so much for having me.